What's up, you guys? Teller checking in for nothing exactly specific. I do want to talk some prop bets for the main card of UFC 302, which takes place this upcoming Saturday. Filming this Sunday morning, it's been a pretty boring weekend as far as the fight game is concerned. Unless you guys were all excited about that Paige Van Zant versus Brooke fight, Ellie Brooke, which I unfortunately did throw on the TV for a brief moment or two. Other than that, I was watching the BKFC that was taking place down there in Mexico City, and that one had a couple fun fights, but I don't know, maybe I'm being a little bit critical about that event as well. But some of those guys, man, that were fighting in the preliminaries of that BKFC event, looks like they just were just walking around the street just looking to sign up anybody that was willing to hop in the ring there and duke it out. So I don't know, maybe I'm being a little harsh. The Teller was actually contemplating making a return to the combat world once again. Maybe I get into the BKFC scene, start knocking dudes out, fly down to Mexico City, start laying dudes out with the big heavy left hook. You guys let me know what you think about that. But you know, there is something I do want to talk about. I'm very excited for this. I just want to talk about the announcement of the Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler press conference that is set for June 3rd in Dublin, leading up to their big event. I'm very excited for it. I'm curious if you guys are pumped for this press conference as much as I am. Listen, I know throughout the last, I shouldn't even say couple years, throughout a while now, for a while. I mean, McGregor sustained the brutal injury. He hasn't really been the old McGregor, but for all you diehard McGregor fans that remember what he was doing back in the day, not only was he delivering in the cage, not only was it a spectacle when he was going in there, going to war with Chad Mendes, knocking Jose Aldo out, knocking Eddie Alvarez out, if you think about his big highlight fights. But remember the main reason, I would say, I don't know if I should say the main reason, but one of the main reasons why we all gravitated towards McGregor, and it was his persona, the way he carried himself outside the cage, and the way he handled himself in the press conferences. They were as fun as anything in the fight game, okay? Even if you want to talk about the Floyd Mayweather press conferences, some of those were okay. Those were a little bit more cringy and staged, if you ask me. But if you think about like the Eddie Alvarez, Jose Aldo, just any time McGregor was up there in a press conference, even for those big seasonal press conferences where he was just attacking everybody up there, like Cerrone and everyone up there, and Rafael Dos Anjos. And what can we expect when we see him sitting side by side with Chandler up there, and they're going tit for tat on the mic? Now, I don't really expect this one to be like a vintage McGregor press conference. I think it'll be way better than what went on for the whole Khabib episode, if you guys remember that. Unfortunately for me, I was in Vegas. I flew out to Vegas for the Khabib McGregor fight. So if you remember what happened with that, as McGregor he tried to do that whole thing where he showed up late and eventually Khabib left or whatever. It took forever. I was enjoying myself that day, having a few drinks, but I was mingling. Sean O'Malley was right behind me. He was hanging out, and we were all having a blast, but we were all very upset when McGregor didn't show up, and that press conference eventually didn't happen. And then McGregor showed up after and did like his own thing, and it was kind of depressing. But for this one here, I think it'll be a little bit more joyous. I think it'll be kind of a little happy-go-lucky. I'm hoping that McGregor turns the notch up a little bit and he maybe digs some personal attacks at Chandler. But Chandler is just such a game dude. He knows how to take a joke. He knows how to take people ripping on him. And I don't think that he'll get flustered and he won't get worked up. So I don't expect to see anything crazy there. Maybe you see a little bit of mutual respect. McGregor has been saying that he does have respect for Chandler deep down. This isn't something that's really that personal. Maybe a little bit of a notch above like what was going on with him and Faber. I know him and Uriah Faber ended up becoming friends. I don't think that Chandler and him are at that level, but they do have respect for each other. And I think that this is strictly business for McGregor to get into the cage, get a finish, and start to build up some steam for some bigger fights moving forward. So that will be taking place June 3rd. It's on a Monday, and it'll be kicking off at 12 p.m. It will be taking place at noon Eastern time zone. All right, so some of you guys may be working. If you're throwing boxes in the back of the truck over at UPS or wherever you work, might have to, pull your phone out and take a peek over, have the AirPods going. If you're serving ice cream, you're whipping the little soft serve and you got the AirPods in, and you're listening to McGregor going nuts there. So just wanted to talk about that real quick. I want to know your guys' opinion on that press conference. Are you guys excited for that? Are you guys excited for the return of McGregor, or are some of you maybe newer fans to the game kind of like over everything McGregor because you guys kind of caught the tail end of what he was doing and you guys are not really crazy about what you've seen? But I'm telling you, if you feel like that, run the tape back on his beginning surge as he made his way into the UFC and check the press conferences out and all that, because McGregor is as fun as it gets, man, in the fight game. There's a reason why his name blew up. So like I said, I do want to talk some prop bets for the main card of UFC 302. We're going to slide over to that in 1 second. Just note, we are powered by BETUS. Sign up through the link in the description of this video. Make an account to BETUS. Get a 125% match on your first 3 deposits. Nobody's doing the matches like BETUS. Let me know if you do sign up through that link so I can give you guys a gift as well. Appreciate you guys there. And before we slide over to the main card over there too, I just want to talk about some announcements that were made as of recently. Now, Jamal Hill will now be taking on Carlos Olberg. As you guys know, Khalil Roundtree pulled out a little bit ago, and Carlos Olberg now steps in. Olberg, who's coming off a phenomenal knockout victory over Alonzo Menefield, and Olberg has just been looking amazing in the cage. Quite honestly, I mean, he's been looking really good. We know when it comes down to the striking that he can hang with anyone in the division. He has some of the best striking in the division. We want to see more from him as a complete mixed martial artist if we're going to kind of picture him as a guy that's at the pinnacle of the division. But he's been putting in that work. He's been training and learning from some of the best. He has a coach that has already turned a fighter into a UFC champion, a long-term UFC champion, and Israel Adesanya, who had a very similar background with the kickboxing background and all that. So, I am high on Carlos Olberg, and I will just let you guys know, I do have Carlos Olberg finishing Jamal Hill. I have Jamal Hill getting finished once again, and I'm going to say Jamal Hill gets finished in the first round. Now, as far as the betting odds go, Jamal Hill opens up as a -110. He is now a -120. Was a -130 there for a second. So slight action coming in on Hill. I'm not in agreement. This is a fight, in my opinion, you want to be on the Olberg side of things. If you're getting him at dog odds, that's excellent. I wouldn't even have a problem with targeting him, even if he was a slight favorite. All right. So, I mean, I'm showing you guys my hand right now. That's how I feel about this fight. I think Olberg gets the job done. He's even. He was +110. He's now +100 here. But limited amount of sports books have opened this line as it's a very new fight. You'll start to see all these sports books open this line up very soon, and you'll see movement going one way or another. I wouldn't be surprised if Olberg actually starts to pick up a little bit of steam going into that fight, and you see Olberg settle in at like a -140. People are going to run that tape back on Hill getting knocked out by Pereira. They're going to realize maybe that this is a bad matchup for him, as he's going to want to strike it out similarly to what he said he was going to do to Pereira. And even though that fight didn't last that long, it is what he did. He sat there. He wasn't looking to shoot at all. Not that he's a decorated grappler, but maybe there could have been an edge there. And he's going to do the same thing here. He's going to look to duke it out with Olberg. I think Olberg is the more refined striker. Defensively, offensively, I like Olberg there to get a first round knockout in that fight.
This video is brought to you by BETUS Sportsbook and Casino.
All right, guys, let's go slide over to the main card of UFC 302. This is the up-and-coming card, a very exciting one. Now, I can't do my typical prop edition video where I'm starting at the bottom of the card and we're working our way all the way up to the top and we're stopping at the ones that we really see some value at, because a lot of books haven't completely opened up the props and specific method of victory lines for a lot of these fights, a lot of the earlier fights. The main card, I am able to find more lines on. So, we'll start right off with the first fight of the main card, which is Randy Brown and Zaleski dos Santos. If you guys saw my full prediction video, you guys note, or you guys know that I am on Zaleski dos Santos here, especially at the underdog line that he's at, which I've seen him as high as +155. I know he's 37 years old, but this dude looks to be in phenomenal shape. Hasn't been fighting a lot over the past 6 years or so. Okay, so not a lot of mileage on him. I know he does have 32 professional fights, but the majority of those were very early on in his career against low-level competition. He's picked things up over the last decade or so in the UFC, and he hasn't been that active. I know he had a couple wars here and there, but I haven't seen him lose a step in the cage. And I think that he's live to crack Randy Brown with the big shot on the feet. We saw Jack Della Maddalena just do something similar to Randy Brown as of recently. And he eventually subbed him down there. But I could see something similar happening here. Zaleski dos Santos, just real quick, just note, just went to a draw with the very talented Renat Fakhretdinov, dug deep in that fight. Victory over Abubakar Nurmagomedov, Benoit Saint-Denis. I know I want to call him Benoit Saint-Denis. I'm sorry, because let me tell you guys something. I know how to say Benoit when I see it, okay? I'm a big-time wrestling fan when I was a kid, Chris Benoit, but you guys messed me up, you guys with the French pronunciations and whatnot, because there was a fighter that came into the UFC. I'm trying to remember his name, and excuse me, it's just slipping my mind right now. I know who it is, but there was someone that had that same Benoit, and he pronounced it Benoit. Okay, so he threw me off. I know it's Benoit. I used to be the type of dude at the lunch table in 3rd grade laughing at people who couldn't know how to say Chris Benoit. All right, so I get that, but Benoit Saint-Denis, I mean, that's a big victory. I know BSD just lost to Dustin Poirier, but I'm still very high on him. So we've seen him go to war. We've seen him exploit fighters down on the mat. I know Zaleski doesn't have a lot of subs on his resume, but he knows how to grapple. We saw what he did to Curtis Melander. And look, let's see what kind of props we can target on this fight. I mean, something that kind of stuck out to me was Zaleski dos Santos by a KO TKO, which I've seen right around plus 550, plus 500. I'm not crazy about it. I don't really like banking on a fighter to get a knockout specifically like this per these odds. Typically, I mean, it depends. I shouldn't say that. That's a very general statement. Depends on the specific matchup. Randy Brown's been looking okay defensively, but he is vulnerable to being knocked out. He is. When he gets cracked, he can crumble. We've seen him knocked out twice before. I saw him get knocked out live. I think it was the Nico Price fight, if I remember correctly. But I think that Zaleski, I like him all in all on the money line, but if we're looking for a prop fight, you're looking for something juicy, if that line maybe bounces back to 600, 650, keep an eye on that. I don't know. We'll see where that goes, but potential value on the first fight of the main card there for Zaleski to get a knockout, or you might be looking at an under 2.5 rounds on this fight at dog odds, plus 133, plus 126, right in that range. I like the dog odds on the under 2.5 rounds. I have a feeling that this fight may see a finish. Gelton Almeida taking on Alexander Romanov. As I did the prediction for this fight, I kind of did hammer in on Almeida. Some of you guys gave me some heat for that, saying I was being a little too harsh on him. But I did not like the way he was finished by Blades there. He was completely coherent, conscious, and he just kind of curled up and took his finish there. That is a little alarming to me, because Romanov is a fighter that's a big-time front runner, and he might try to toss himself like a bowling ball at Almeida. Maybe he knocks him down like he's a set of pins. But I'm not. The more I've been kind of diving into this fight since that video, I think I'm seeing how this fight's going to go. I really am. I think that Romanov is a much more flaky fighter, first and foremost. And I think Almeida kind of weathers the storm. I've been seeing some reports that he was really down on himself for his performance against Blades. He understands that he dropped the ball, and that if he would have won that fight, he would have been taking on Almeida for a setup, for the belt and all that. And I think Almeida comes into the cage here a little bit mentally sharper, and Romanov is a flake. And I think that Almeida stays out of harm's way early on, and then he'll have the success with the grappling. He has better cardio, and I think that he's going to flatten Romanov out, and I think he's going to TKO him. And we've seen something similar, right? We saw Volkov just do that to Romanov recently, and I think that Gelton can replicate that very much so. Volkov, the more complete fighter, but maybe you say Gelton, I think you confidently say, has better grappling and can set that type of situation up even better. Let's take a look at Gelton to finish this fight via TKO, which you can catch right now at plus 350. I think there's value there. I think that he finishes his fight via KO, TKO/TKO. You got to be a little bit careful with the sub. Maybe he's beating him up and then sinks in a rear naked choke or something like that. Romanov, never been subbed yet, has decent grappling. He's kind of thick, like a Derek Lewis type style, so it's hard to get your limbs under his neck and whatnot. He might be able to defend, and maybe we see Almeida just pound him out. Man, a plus 350 potential value there. All right. And then let's go to the next fight. Let's see what we're talking about. Kevin Holland versus Michał Oleksiejczuk. My arch nemesis, Kevin Holland. You guys know I was honest with you in the prediction, though. I do believe that Kevin Holland is going to get the job done here. Oleksiejczuk has up and down performances. I think this is going to be one of his more down performances. And we've also seen Oleksiejczuk finished, right, quite a bit. Submitted in his last fight, submitted in his last loss before that to Caio. Two high-level fighters. Saw him submitted by Jimmy Crute, OSP. I mean, he's been very vulnerable to being subbed. And Kevin Holland, although he doesn't typically go out there and pull subs off, we know that he does have some high-caliber BJJ training under Travis Lutter, and had a submission victory over Michael Chiesa not too long ago, a submission over Tim Means. We've seen him come in to those types of fights where he's imposing his will, and he'll look to land a sub. And I think that he is going to hit a sub in this fight here. So Holland, to find that submission, you can catch that at plus 275. I think there is some slight value on that line there. It's not like the juiciest line for a play like that, but I think there's a good possibility that plays out like that and potential value on that line. So let's talk co-main event and main event action here. Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa. I am liking Sean Strickland to win this fight. I want to be clear there. I want to let you guys know where I stand. I like Sean Strickland to bounce back with the victory here. I think he'll be sharper defensively. Offensively, I think he'll have a little bit of a flame lit under him after what happened in the last fight. I know he was a little hesitant late in that fight. I also like the fact that he just fought 2 fights going 25 minutes. This is a 5-round fight. I think that he'll know exactly what he's doing in the later rounds, and just from how to pace himself, and again how he performed in that DDP fight. I think he manages his cardio better, and I think he'll have a little bit better of an offensive put out late in the fight. Paulo needs to hit Sean Strickland with the big shot. He needs to get a knockout. He needs to completely shake things up. Otherwise, I just think that Strickland will be a step ahead with the Philly shell style. He's sharp. Paulo falls short in those big fights against the top fighters in this division. Takes L's against Israel, Marvin, Whitaker. Sean Strickland arguably is the best middleweight in the world right now. Arguably, he should have never lost that last fight. You see him with the title here still. He gets a victory here. He's fighting for the belt after this fight here. So I do like Sean Strickland to win a decision, though, in this fight. I don't think he finds the finish, even though he'll have good success offensively. He'll put a good amount of volume out there, but he's not a big one-shot type of finisher, and Costa's decently tough, and I think that it goes to a decision, which you can get at plus 215. So you're talking about either taking Sean Strickland on the money line at minus 215 roughly, or completely flipping that minus to a plus at plus 215 there. So value on that line, if you ask me as well. And then we will slide over to the main event, where we got Islam Makhachev taking on DP Dustin Poirier. I've done a lot of content about this fight already, and this one's a little tough. I'll tell you what I'm looking at for this. So I do think at the end of the day that Islam is going to get the finish in this fight. It boils down to, do you think he finds the sub or the knockout? Okay, Islam has been knocking dudes out as of recently. So we do understand that out of all of his victories, right, we got 16 finishes. 11 of them have come by way of sub. Earlier in his career, he was subbing dudes left and right, but even has a sub over Charles Oliveira. But as of recently, he's been knocking dudes out. Just head kicked Alexander Volkanovski, knocked out Bobby Green not too long ago in the first round. I mean, the striking has really come around. And DP was just brutally knocked out by Justin Gaethje via head kick. I think that he is still vulnerable to being slept there. And as we take a look at what's available here, Makhachev to win via knockout, you can catch that as high as plus 250 on some of these books, okay? I've seen it as high as plus 250. I think that there's arguably more value on the TKO/knockout compared to the sub. Meanwhile, the sub is right around even odds. But also noting there's a more likely scenario that Makhachev does find the sub. Okay, we understand that. But if you're playing the value, I think that you get more value for the knockout there, jumping all the way up to the mid plus 200 range compared to even odds. I think that you might want to look at something like that. Maybe he could flatten DP out, kind of control him down in the mat, land some nasty ground and pound, and maybe we see DP kind of crumble up. You know, he's talking retirement. Maybe it's not this same vintage DP. This is going to be DP's last fight, he said, right? Most likely win or lose. So maybe he just starts getting smashed out and kind of just even gets TKO'd like that. But I could see a sharp strike just kind of hurting him bad and finishing him up. A big head kick, a big straight down the pipe, cracking him. So we'll see. Maybe DP's against the cage looking to counter, and he's looking for his own counter, and he just gets clipped brutally. All right, so that's some of the prop bets I like for the main card. I probably will do another prop edition. I'll be doing another prop edition for the entire card, and we could analyze the movement on some of the lines in the main card and whatnot. And you guys, let me know what you think about some of these bets, and let me know what you guys thought about the Paige Van Zandt boxing match. Ooh, that was an exciting one. No, you guys know I'm kidding there. What else can I leave you guys with? I think that's about it, boys. All right, we'll wrap this up. A lot of content coming your way. Please make sure you like this video and subscribe. It means a lot to me. And make sure you're following me on my social media, on Instagram at MMA Fortune Teller _ on Twitter at the MMA Teller. You can shoot me an email if you want to at my email is MMAFortuneTeller@gmail.com. Signing out. Teller.
Welcome to the show. This is the MMA Fortune Teller. Yeah.
The MMA Fortune Teller.
The teller.